In the beginning, there was a word, and that word can heal or poison a person's heart. What if what you do is not prescribing medication, but prescribing words? Aloha, my name is QuestionElla, and I'm going to be talking to a social worker, Mr. Gregory Lockyear. He will explain how working, especially with words, help people see life better. Do you think that word is the best remedy to heal a problem?
A word that's fitly spoken, it's actually in the Bible, in Proverbs, can heal.
I'm sure you didn't just think about it when you were small.
According to my family, anybody that has the spelling, Lockyear, they have the A, is actually related to me. And there's a purpose to it. You know, I am a magician because I really love studying food. I like eating it too, but
yeah, me too. Like, let's say when you're talking to somebody, you're like, oh, this person is a narcissist or an introvert. Aloha, e kumamai. Thank you for being with us today. My name is QuestionElla. As before, I'm going to have an interesting talk with my guest. Today, I have Mr. Gregory Lockyear as my source of inspiration. I'll tell you a bit about me, and you'll tell me about you. I still don't know who I want to be when I grow up. That's why I like to talk to people about their professions. Perhaps today, I might get inspired for my future profession. But Mr. Lockyear heals people with mostly a word, alongside with pills. Is that correct?
Yes. I don't actually prescribe the pills, but I do actually provide counseling, and I do other things too on the job.
Do you think that word is the best remedy to heal a problem?
You know, I think that a word can go a long ways in healing. There are other ways of healing as well, and that are actually very evidence-based, but you know, a word that's fitly spoken, it's actually in the Bible, in Proverbs, can heal. And so we want to think about that. I think it's important that what we say.
Of course, it's important, yeah. Let me ask you about your first name. I'm always curious about people's heritage. I've already gathered some stories about people's last names.
My last name is Lockyear. It's actually an English name. When my ancestors came over from England, they changed the spelling of it. So it was originally Lockyer, and they added an A to Americanize it, to make it, so from Lockyear, they changed it to Lockyear.
Wow.
So according to my family, anybody that has the spelling, Lockyear, they have the A, is actually related to me, which is kind of interesting.
Wow.
Makes a connection with people that have that last name, that specific spelling, because my specific ancestors came over and changed it to that. So, yeah.
So cool, wow.
Yeah.
What is your story of how you did to become a psychiatrist? Because I'm sure you didn't just think about it when you were small.
Yeah, well, I'm actually, technically I'm not a psychiatrist, but I'm actually a care manager, mental health counselor. And how I became one, it's interesting. So I used to work at the Parks and Recreation, and I work with teenagers, and kind of where I first started having interest was when I was able to help a teenager who was going through a difficult time. And so that's kind of where it started, and then I met other professionals in the business and started thinking, wow, you know, maybe I would like to do this, and I kind of had it in the back of my head. And then I actually ended up going into business. I got a business degree, and then I changed my major because I didn't like that, and I changed my major to teaching, and then I landed a job in college in the field of mental health. And so and I really enjoyed doing that, and I changed my major when I was at the university to mental health or psychology, and I focused on mental health, and that's kind of how I ended up in mental health. And then I really found interest in the medical aspect of mental health, which is where I'm at now, and it's something I really love doing.
Wow, so it was part of what you love to do.
Absolutely, yeah, and there's a purpose to it, you know, when you get to help people. There's just something special about that. So it feels very purpose-centered, which I really like.
So if you'd be able to go back in time and change your profession, would it be something different?
Absolutely not. I love what I do. I mean, there's other things that I could do, and I could give you a list of a few things that I would probably be interested in doing, but
sure.
This is what I really love doing. I mean, a couple things I thought about was a detective. I think I'd be good at that, and a dietitian, because I really love studying food. Well, I like eating it too, but
Yeah, me
you know.
too.
But yeah, good. Yeah, it's a good thing. I really like what I'm doing, so I don't think I would change it.
I think helping people is amazing too.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Yeah.
What is the difference between psychiatry and psychology? I've heard these words, but they sound kind of the same.
Yeah, they're very similar. So psychiatry is more the study of medicine in terms of like the psychiatrist would prescribe medications to treat an illness. They also do provide therapy sometimes. A psychologist, would be someone that actually does more of like the counseling aspect of it. Psychology is more an overall term for all of it. So psychiatry is actually a term that kind of fits under the umbrella of psychology.
So like family tree?
Yeah, kind of, yeah, you know.
So have you ever considered being a hypnologist, and could you explain what it means too?
Yeah, well, hypnosis is a specific type of training. First of all, I have not considered it, but I actually work alongside an individual, he's retired since, but he was a hypnotist. And he did go to school, he was certified in doing that, and he practiced it. It's definitely a special type of treatment, and it does work for some people. One thing that it's really popular with is people that are trying to kick smoking addictions, and also remembering incidences. Like the police sometimes will use hypnosis to remember if a situation happened and a victim or someone can't remember something, they'll use it. I don't think I would consider it. What I'm doing now, I really love doing, so I don't think I would want to change my career.
Yeah. Do you apply your medical knowledge to the daily life? Like, let's say when you're talking to somebody, you're like, oh, this person is a narcissist or an introvert.
Very good question, and I get asked that a lot. I try not to. I try to leave my, work at work and just kind of, be me on the outside of that. But, obviously, it's something I'm trained in and I understand to a degree. So I do, see things sometimes that maybe other people don't. So.
Yeah, you always keep that in mind, right?
Sure, yeah. And also, the thing with it too is it can really come in handy sometimes when you're talking to people, trying to get to know people and understand what motivates them and how to help them, because you care about the people that are around you, your friends and family. So in that regard, it can come in really handy, in relationships. You learn things that can be helpful in relationships.
Is there an exercise to improve our mental health since my age? Or when I'm old, I'm supposed to have a certain mental illness? Is it avoidable in some way?
To prevent it, yeah. Well, there's a few things to think about. There are organic types of mental health problems they're more genetic and those kind of things, and it's kind of more of a physical organic issue, and then sometimes it's going to happen no matter what, and then other times the environment can impact your mental health if you're predisposed genetically and can kind of push you into that mental health condition with things like stress, possibly, we don't know everything about it, but possibly, something to do with the environment that you're in. Lacking sleep can sometimes trigger it. Substance abuse can sometimes trigger it. So there's things that can kind of, increase the probability. And then there's other things like, so for example, certain conditions are more environmentally based, and they're not maybe organic, but they will happen if you allow them to. So there are things you can do to help prevent it. Was that part of your question, was things we can do to prevent it as well?
Yeah.
So breathing exercise can help sometimes with certain things like anxiety management, and also trying to stick to the facts. So sometimes, for example, with anxiety, we'll often go to the worst case scenario of something happening because we're so worried about it. But if we kind of go back to the facts and say, well, what do I know about this is true? Like if I'm giving a speech and I think it's going to be a bad speech, and let's say I skip something on my speech, it doesn't mean they're going to throw tomatoes at me, right? Yeah. Just because but my mind can go to the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
And so I want to try to kind of work myself through that and say, wait a minute, my speech might only be okay, but no one's going to throw tomatoes at me, So we can kind of work ourselves through it, like you said, with words and that kind of thing, and sticking to the facts, rather than thinking the worst case scenario. So there's some practice that comes into play there. And then also taking care of yourself with exercise, sleep, diet, and those kind of things can also come into play. You know, and then looking at your family history can also predict as well. You know, just knowing your family history, because some mental health conditions are 100% genetic and they run in families. So it's good to be aware of your family history as well.
So like genetics, like I heard this story, like there's this person who smoked for 60 years and they had perfect lungs. And there's this person who smoked for like 2 months and they had very bad, like, I don't know, like lung cancer or something. So that could also be of genetics.
Exactly. Yeah, that could be a good example of that potentially. And so we want to think about that, you know, but definitely that's a good example.
Based on your expertise, will meditations and mindfulness practices help heal people and get rid of their problems? Or, of course, alongside with prescriptions?
Oh, well, I think it depends on the individual. Like I said, I think some conditions are organic, and you know, even with certain organic conditions, you don't need medications because people can learn to manage them. They're not to the degree that it impacts your life. You know, when I was in college, I took a class, abnormal psychology, and the teacher said that really when it becomes a mental health condition that's a problem is when it starts to impact your life. So that's kind of where if you can't manage that impact in a healthy way without medications, then you may need to go in and look at that as a possibility. Absolutely. So there's this thing called mindfulness meditation. It's part of the dialectical behavior therapy, and it's evidence-based, so it's proven that it works. So there's different types of techniques, and if you spend a little bit of time meditating every day, you can have, and all you do on this technique is you focus on your breathing and your breathing alone, so you don't let your mind wander. If it does, you acknowledge it, but then you go back to the breathing and just the physical sensations you feel as you breathe, okay? And the evidence base, it shows that this improves mental processing speed, memory, it decreases anxiety. So there's a lot of benefits to this, and it can be really helpful in managing some of your mental health symptoms if you're having those. So I highly recommend that. And then there's also other things people can meditate too. You know, for people that are spiritual, oftentimes it can help very much to meditate on God's Word, reading the Bible in prayer. So, you know, for some people that also is a really good thing to meditate on. You know, meditating on God's Word. Yeah.
Well, I also heard you did magic tricks.
I am a magician.
When did you start doing magic tricks and why?
So I started when I was in elementary school, and my brother and I would do shows when we were kids, and we just had a lot of fun with it. And I don't really know why I got into it. I guess we just thought it was interesting, and that's kind of where it started.
It was just for fun?
Yeah, it was just for fun. Yeah. I mean, we enjoyed it. You know, it's fun watching people's faces when you do magic. You know, and the sometimes they look so perplexed. You know.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to watch it and show them something, and the entertainment value of that's it's pretty fun. You know, to provide that for other people.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah.
Was it to attract girls too?
That's a really good question. I will tell you this, I have used it to attract girls before. Truth. And it's funny with magic, so I mean, doesn't matter, girl, you know, whoever it is, kids, adults, girl, boy, whoever you do magic tricks for, you don't even have to say a word, and it's almost like they instantly become your friend, or they're intrigued, you know? So it's a really good way to, quote, break the ice. So I guess if someone was trying to attract a girl or whatever, that could be a really good way to do that, is
You're right.
You know, to break the ice. Yeah.
So let's go back in time and tell little Mr. Greg an advice for his life ahead. What would you tell him?
Well, I would say you're gonna make mistakes, but that's okay because it's gonna help you become who you are. And I think that, you know, when we look back at our lives, there's things we're going to learn, and we're probably going to spend time doing valuable things, and then we're going to spend time doing invaluable things.
Yeah.
But sometimes, even when we spend time doing invaluable things, is when we really learn the most about ourselves. Because, you learn about start to learn where you're going and what you need to do.
Thank you, Mr. Lockyear, for everything today. That was a very powerful talk. Thank you for sharing your experience with me and making time for me. Today it was Ella QuestionElla and Mr. Gregory Lockyear. Mahalo and hui ho. In conclusion, to achieve a quiet mind and a peaceful life, follow this simple recipe. Practice mindfulness and meditation. Simplify your life. Prioritize what's truly important to you. Maintain a healthy diet and engage in physical activities. Be grateful for the little things that happen to you each and every day, thus shifting your focus from negativity and stress. And lastly, if you feel the need to, seek help from a true professional who can help you and heal you with a word, just like Mr. Greg does. That's all for today, friends. This was Ella QuestionElla. Until next time, mahalo. Well, no, we have to redo it. And lastly, wait, no. Honestly, okay, again. If you, wait, no. And lastly, okay, what was the line? What was the line again? Okay, okay. That's it for today. Come here. Until next time, this is Ella QuestionElla. This was Stop it. If you were doing something and then I interrupted you, you wouldn't like it. So do the same for me.